Up next, I'm joined by Dr. Thomas Porter, the Hubbard Distinguished Chair of Cardiology and Professor of Internal Medicine at the University of Nebraska in Omaha, to discuss real-time contrast echo is a powerful predictor of adverse outcomes in patients with angina. Tom, welcome to Accel. Why don't you explain a little bit about your technique and some of the findings?
Ultrasound contrast has been available for about 10 years. The FDA approved it for enhancing wall motion analysis. The techniques that are now available on commercially available systems allow you to both use the contrast if necessary to enhance wall motion analysis, and that's typically if you see only two contiguous segments that you can't visualize well without contrast. However, there's also available software on these systems that allows you at a very low mechanical index or power output to analyze myocardial contrast enhancement, which, when during a continuous infusion of ultrasound contrast, you can deliver brief, high mechanical index impulses to the myocardium and then analyze the replenishment of contrast within the myocardium. This has been shown to correlate with myocardial blood flow, and several retrospective studies prior to this study have shown that it added incremental value in detecting coronary artery disease and predicting outcome in these patients. So for the same amount of contrast on the same ultrasound system, you can get perfusion and wall motion information for the same price as doing wall motion analysis alone.
Okay, so the technology sounds interesting and available, and we have the same population, the intermediate risk patient with chest discomfort that needs to have a methodology to rule out coronary disease. Why don't you tell us about your patient population and a little bit about some of the findings that you obtained with this methodology?
Yes, this is the first prospective study which analyzed the ability of contrast when used for the FDA-approved indication of enhancing wall motion analysis to this real-time perfusion technique in patients referred to our stress echo lab at the University of Nebraska Medical Center for either a dobutamine stress echo or a treadmill exercise stress echo using the conventional Bruce protocol. These patients, if they consented to participate, then were randomized to either the conventional stress echo, or what we refer to as CSE, where contrast is used just when necessary for enhancing wall motion analysis, or to the real-time myocardial contrast echo technique, where contrast is administered in all patients to analyze both perfusion and wall motion. Patients were referred inpatient or outpatient, but all had to have an intermediate pre-test probability of coronary artery disease and a suspicion for coronary artery disease to be considered for enrollment.
Okay, so tell us about your findings.
Well, it was very interesting findings. These really highlight how contrast can really add to the evaluation of stress echo, in that the patients that had negative results, either by the conventional stress echo technique or the real-time MCE or myocardial contrast echo technique, had excellent event-free survival. Both had greater than 95% event-free survival if their test was negative. If the test was positive, there were some differences between groups. Overall, there wasn't a significant difference in event-free survival. It clearly was worse than those with normal studies, whether you were get a conventional stress echo or a real-time MCE study. But patients that had resting wall motion abnormalities with the real-time myocardial contrast echo technique had a significantly worse outcome. In fact, it was the most important predictor of outcome, in that if you had a resting wall motion abnormality detected by real-time MCE, your outcome was significantly worse than if you didn't already at the beginning of the study. Patients that had a abnormal real-time myocardial contrast echo were much more likely to require revascularization after their study at any time period following the study, as opposed to those with abnormal conventional stress echo studies. Overall, because the real-time myocardial contrast echo group had higher revascularization rates, the event-free survival in these patients with abnormal studies was the same as it was with the conventional stress echo group. So although their outcomes were the same, we think the real-time myocardial contrast echo technique is better at detecting coronary disease and identifying patients who are high risk and may require revascularization.
How long did you follow the patients after the studies were done?
The median follow-up was 2.6 years. That would range anywhere from 1 to 4 years of follow-up.
Okay, so this is a technique that we're basically using frequently, that is contrast echo, for looking at endocardial outlines for regional wall motion. So it's something that's more or less routine in the laboratory. Dobutamine or exercise, again, more or less routine procedures for this intermediate risk group. It sounds to me like if you do two things, number one, do a constant perfusion of the contrast, and number two, turn on the perfusion analysis software in the machine, you have another dimension to increase the accuracy of the study, particularly in its negative predictive values, I think I heard you say. In your lab, would this now become more or less a routine process to try to refine the accuracy of the stress test, the echo stress test?
Yes, I think it has real potential to do that. In essence, when you add the perfusion imaging, you make it the equivalent perhaps of a radionuclide study, which you have great familiarity with, and that these results are very similar now to what we have seen with the large population-based studies with radionuclide imaging. The advantage is that it's a bedside technique. No ionizing radiation is required, and we can do perfusion imaging repetitively because the technique that analyzes perfusion, the nurse administers a continuous infusion of the microbubbles. Usually it's one vial. It's all that's required of the contrast agent. And then we administer a brief little high power impulse to clear the myocardium of contrast and then analyze that replenishment. It's that visual analysis of replenishment that helps us both detect the wall motion abnormalities and the perfusion defects. But you've highlighted another very important point, and that's training. One of the other aspects of the study was to see what effect training had on the predictive ability of the test. This was a single center study, but there were 5 reviewers of the study. One was an experienced reviewer that had interpreted already over 1,000 studies for contrast for the left ventricular opacification indication or the perfusion analysis. And we compared that to 4 reviewers who had just 100 studies in their experience prior to beginning this study. And the predictive value of the experienced reviewer was excellent in terms of discriminating a patient that would be more likely to have death or non-fatal MI, even when we considered revascularization as a time-dependent covariate. The experienced reviewer was able to discriminate that patient who was at high risk for death or non-fatal MI and perhaps may need more aggressive management. However, the less experienced reviewers were not able to make that distinguishing difference. They were good at predicting those that would require revascularization, but they were not good at predicting those hard endpoints. So training will be critical for this. As you know, we already have COCAT's guidelines that tell us how many echoes or radionuclide studies that we are required in our training programs for a person to become experienced. And we know that's at least 300. And I think this study proved that. The same thing will be true for this technique, perfusion imaging, and even using it for analyzing for left ventricular opacification, that training will be critical in making this technique a success.
Well, and I know there's a long history of both the mathematics of wash in and wash out of indicators in the myocardium, but your methodology is observational. So the training here, to me, sounds like something relatively straightforward. You set up a series of case examples, you have people look at them and learn what the washout kinetics look like or the wash-in kinetics look like, and they should be able to refine their accuracy pretty quickly with that kind of a model, because it is an imaging model which can be displayed. Well, this is an exciting addition to stress echo. I think it does enhance the ability, and I think myocardial perfusion, of course, is what we're always after, so this gives us that. We'll be looking forward to some of the outcome data that you're presenting and some more of the details of your methodology as we go along. But it sounds like an exciting addition to the echo without really any additional cost and just a little more training. So thanks again for being here at Axo.
Yes, thank you.